Area Schools Middle School virtual town hall. We are so excited that you have joined us this evening. We want to be sure that we've answered any and all of your questions. Please know that you are welcome to send your questions in via the form that's available on our website. Also available through the communication that Superintendent Jett sent to you this afternoon. So we welcome your questions, and we will be answering those as we go, and so our moderator may break in at times, or we might answer them at the end. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for joining us. And now I'm going to ask our amazing leaders who have joined us to please introduce themselves. I'm going to start at the top corner with Executive Director Lori Posch.
Good evening, everyone. Lori Posch, Executive Director of Learning and Teaching. Glad to be with you tonight.
Adam Holm.
Good evening, everybody. Adam Holm, Executive Director of Community Education.
Principal Heitkamp.
Hello, everyone. Joel Heitkamp, Principal at South Junior High. Go Tigers.
Principal Wilhite.
Good evening, amazing middle school families. I'm Anna Wilhite, Principal at Kennedy. Welcome.
Principal Nutter.
Good evening. My name is Brian Nutter. I'm the Principal at North Junior High. Go Eagles.
AP Lanning.
Oh, I am here. Hi, Mrs. Laning, Assistant Principal at South Junior High School. Nice to see you.
And our amazing moderator, who is also has other roles in our district, Tammy DeLand.
Hi, yes, Tammy DeLand, Director of Communications and Community Engagement.
And moderator extraordinaire. And Superintendent Jett is also on the call with us this evening. And we are all very grateful that you've given us some of your time. Superintendent Jett.
Good evening, everybody.
All right, we have prepared a presentation for you based on the questions and comments that you've submitted so far. And we hope that this will answer a wide span of questions for you. But again, please feel free to send them to us. As you know, we have made some changes to our school start times. Principal Heitkamp, would you walk us through some of the changes and why why we made those decisions?
Absolutely. Are you going to throw up the daily schedule or just talk about the start time for now?
For now, just the start times.
Yeah, so to accommodate some of the work that our transportation folks need to take care of in the morning, to allow for adequate time for our buses to be fully cleaned and sanitized between our elementary route that takes place early in the morning and the time when our secondary kiddos come to school. We needed to build in a little bit more time for that. And so our school day at our middle schools, specifically North and South, will start right at 9 o'clock in the morning. And I know, Ms. Wilhite, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but your Kennedy kiddos, they'll start at their normal time earlier in the morning as per usual. So that is the biggest reason for our start times being moved back just a little bit, and it's to accommodate some more safety time to sanitize our buses.
Thank you so much. And one thing that's going to be important for our families to know is that we need our students to arrive as close as possible to that start time, knowing that we need our students to be socially distanced. We need our students to go, once they are screened, to go right to their classrooms. Sometimes we had families in the past who, for many reasons, would drop their students off early, and during inclement weather, if it was rainy or cold, students would want to congregate into the small foyers that were warm and sheltered because they'd arrive prior to staff getting there and our doors opening. We know that that is not safe for our students to be that clustered together this year. So we are not going to be able to open our doors before 8:30. And so we really need our families and our students to be mindful about that so that we can be sure that all of our students and our staff stay safe and healthy. And we had somebody else join us, so I'm going to welcome Kelly. Kelly, would you just say hello, and we're glad you're here.
Hi, my name is Kelly Frankenfield. I'm the Director of Multilingual Learning for St. Cloud Public Schools. Glad to be here.
We're glad that you are here. Thank you so much. This, as you're seeing on our screen, is our middle level schedule. And this one, I want to ask if Principal Nutter, would you just walk us through what families are seeing? I know that the print is small. Would you just walk our families through what they can expect during a school day from your
I would
bell
love to
schedule?
do that. Please bear with me because I can't see what's being presented right now. So I'll do my best. I assume it's our bell schedule.
Yes, indeed.
AB Flex.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. So what you're seeing is students will attend school in person on an AB Flex schedule, with the first A day, Monday, being a periods advisory 1, 2, 3, and then it will be followed by a B day, Tuesday. Same thing, advisory periods 1, 2, 3. And then Wednesday, A-day students will come back for periods 4, 5, 6. And then Thursday, B students will come back for periods 4, 5, 6. So each student will get to see each of their classroom teachers one day in person, and then they will have one day in online distance learning with them. And then Friday, they'll do distance learning check-ins with their teachers. And the teachers will have synchronous times where students will log in, and teachers will be able to answer questions, provide support, provide necessary directions for students that may need some additional support from the coursework that was covered the first 4 days of the week.
Thank you so much. And later on in the presentation, you'll hear from our Executive Director of Learning and Teaching, Lori Posch, about more about that Friday day. Principal Wilhite, will this look very similar for your Kennedy families?
Yes, it will look pretty much the same, other than we will be doing our advisory at the end of the day. So making sure that we're able to check out with our students. But otherwise, yes, we'll have the exact same schedule.
Perfect. Thank you. Our morning routines. Our morning routines are going to be really important as all of us, families, staff, students, take collective responsibility for the health and well-being of this entire community. Before your students even leave your house in the morning, we are asking them to take responsibility to complete their Skyward screening form. It's a very simple checklist. I think there's 2 or 3 questions. And students would just need to log into Skyward, which they know how to do, because in advisory, we go through grades and attendance with them. Though you are also able to access the form in the family portal under Skyward if you prefer to help your child complete that. It's a very simple form asking about any COVID-related symptoms and fever. So if it's possible for your family, we would really appreciate it if you could take a temperature before sending your student off to school. Though, as you will hear shortly, we will temperature check before students enter our building. At our bus stops, students will be expected to wear masks upon entering the bus, and certainly we would encourage it if the students are standing close near each other as they're waiting for the bus. Students will go all the way to the back of the bus as they board, and as they arrive at school, they will disembark from the front of the bus. There will be temperature checks taken before students leave the bus, and our staff are trained to do that. And if students are exhibiting a temperature at that point, there will be an escort will be called, and they'll be taken to our care room, which is a health care room that is set aside just for our students who are exhibiting any COVID-related symptoms. We'll have a separate area for students that might need to visit the nurse just for, like, say, med checks, or if they happen to twist their ankle in Phi Ed or something like that. All of our students will be temperature checked. All of our staff will be temperature checked before they come into the building for the day, as you heard the bus procedures. And then we will have a separate entrance potentially for walkers and for students who are getting a ride. Principal Heitkamp, would you talk a little bit about how you might be laying out your arrival procedures and where riders and walkers would be screened?
Sure, absolutely. Any student that arrives at South Junior High on a bus is going to enter either doors number 1 or door number 2, and that's our normal bus chute on the west side of the building. As students get off that bus, again, they'll all be temperature screened by a paraprofessional as they exit the bus, and then they'll make their way into the building through mainly door number 1, but we'll also utilize door number 2 if needed. Any student that is getting dropped off by a parent is going to enter door number 7. That's on the north side of our building. They will be checked at the car. And so we're encouraging you to please be patient with us. Wait within your car with your student. One of our staff members will gladly come over, give a temperature check to a student, ask them the quick screening questions, and then allow them to enter the building. Again, that's door number 7. All other students that are arriving as walkers, again, preferably as close to 9 o'clock as possible, will enter door number 5 at South Junior High. That's on the northeast side of the building by the tennis courts. And that's where we'll have staff outside making sure they're easily seen, and that students that are walking from, let's say, the east side of the neighborhood, kind of by St. Cloud State. We have lots of students that walk from that area. They will enter door number 5. Students that are walking from other areas will have to make their way around the building. We've just done some fantastic new sidewalks around our building here at South Junior High, and so it's easily accessible. Maybe a little out of the way, but that's the safest way that we can ensure that all of our students get into the building. And again, I'm sure Ms. Putnam will talk about this as well, but as students enter that building, they will make their way right to their advisory class. Typically at South Junior High and North Junior High, we've had opportunities for students to hang out with friends, go to gyms, or do other activities. This year, that's not going to be the case. Starting at 8:30, our staff will all be available for students to make their way to their advisories as soon as they enter the building.
Perfect. And I was just made aware of a technical glitch that you weren't able to see the presentation. So I think we've corrected that now, and I appreciate that, Tammy, for letting us know.
And Lori, there is a question to see the schedule visually.
Fabulous. We'll go back to that. Thank you. Principal Wilhite, would you talk, before we go back to the schedule would you talk about what breakfast procedures and reporting to class will look like in the morning?
Sure. For us at Kennedy, we will be typically in the past, we've done a grab and go breakfast. This year, we will be actually delivering breakfasts to our classrooms. Since we do serve kindergarten through 8th grade, we want to make sure that we're really limiting the exposure in our building. North and South, though, are doing grab and go breakfast. So students will come in, grab their breakfast, and head straight to their rooms. So morning routine will be that a little different, where there won't be the congregating. All students in all of our buildings will be asked as they enter the building to go immediately to their advisory or classroom teacher.
Thank you so much. I'm going to jump backwards if I can. Here is the middle school schedule that Principal Nutter walked you through. You can see the AB days. Middle school principals, are these on your websites or communicated out to families somewhere?
So speaking just for North, it's not on our website yet that I'm aware of. However, I did send it out to all of our families in a newsletter last Friday. And so by default, I guess it is on our website because our newsletters are posted on our website. So if you go under the About tab on the North webpage, you'll be able to find our newsletters. So the most recent newsletter that went out on Friday last week will have that schedule in there.
And I can echo that for South Junior High. It has been communicated out through our parent newsletter, which can also be found on the South webpage. And I think it's important to note that Mondays and Wednesdays will also always stay A days, no matter what happens through our schedule. And Tuesdays and Thursdays will always stay B days. So families, once you know what day your student is going to attend, those will always be the days that they come to their respective schools.
And for Kennedy, our schedule is not posted yet. We will be working on that in the coming days. We have a little bit more to navigate with having elementary as well in our school.
Thank you so much. So we're going to go to learning expectations. You've heard a little bit about the AB Flex already. And I suspect many of you have read or seen already that we've assigned students with last names A through K to our A days. So as Principal Heitkamp said, that will always be Mondays and Wednesdays. And students with last names L through Z to our B days, which will always be Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if you want to know, I don't even know what day April 13th is, but if you want to know if your kid will be in school on April 13th, you will absolutely be able to know that. And we have created handy calendars for you marking A and B days. We know that, especially for middle school, it is challenging if your child's best friend has a different last name than the A or the B assignment. And now you are working with your child trying to process the reality that they may not be able to go to school on the same day as their best friend. And all of us have children. We all love the students that we serve, and we know that this is a hardship for some of our families if this is happening for you in your house. And we want you to know that our hearts go out, and we will do everything we can to help your child build some new friendships, particularly during the advisories in the morning or the afternoon at Kennedy, or during those flex days on Friday when students from A's and B's can come together virtually. Because we have to balance our class sizes to ensure 6 feet of social distance between all of our students, our A and B day assignments are quite strict. And while we understand that it's a challenge for some of our families and students, we also know that the health and safety of our students and our staff takes priority. We worked with independent consultants. We actually hired an architecture firm to provide this square footage of every one of our spaces in all of our schools. And they provided a furniture layout for every instructional space. So we know exactly how many students can be in each classroom. And our middle school counselors are working tirelessly to ensure that our classes are balanced to keep no more than the appropriate number of students in a space. And for that reason, we aren't able to honor the changes for the AB assignments. We will, however, make sure that siblings with different last names are able to attend on the same schedule. We've heard from some families about, well, why did you choose AB? We know some districts did AABB. We know some districts chose, instead of Friday, they put their flex day on Wednesday. And we thought long and hard about all of those options. And after talking with our teachers, we decided to go with a flex day on Friday, because having the opportunity on Friday means they've seen all of their students. They know which concepts students didn't understand, or perhaps which concepts were too easy and now they need to provide extension. They also know which students didn't understand specific concepts or need extension, and can either reteach to an entire classroom on Fridays, or they can select specific students that they need to see on that Friday. We also know that Friday is a good choice for us because we are deep cleaning every single day. So the idea that we would need to keep AA together or BB because of germs just really isn't an issue for us. Our custodial staff, we've hired extra staff, and they've been very thoroughly trained and have all of the cleaning supplies they need to ensure every building and every space is cleaned every night. We also know that by using an AB assignment, if a student or a staff was confirmed with a case of COVID, then we have 24 hours to be able to contact trace and notify our families. By using an AA, if a student was somehow exposed on Monday and they were due back on Tuesday, we have a very small window in which to be able to trace where that student went, who he or she may have come in contact with, and then notify those people. So for this district, based on all those reasons, the AB Flex was the best choice for us. And I would ask Lori if she would please talk about learning expectations.
Happy to. Thanks for giving me the chance. We want to make sure that all of us remember that we have really high expectations for our students and for our teachers when it comes to learning and teaching. And starting the year out in a hybrid model allows us to have that learning take place for our students both in a site, in a school building, but also at home. And some of our students have opted for Distance Learning Academy, which means that their learning will take place at home and not within a school building itself. No matter which place our students are learning, they will be logging in. Our common platform for our middle school and our high school students is Schoology. So assignments and lessons and everything that students need will be in Schoology, and they'll be accessing that both in the building and at home. Along with that, our Flex Friday, a lot of people have said, well, what does Friday look like for my child? And Fridays will follow a similar schedule every week. On Fridays, our middle school students will be synchronous or logging in with their advisory teachers every Friday. And then teachers will have some office time set up, some time for some small groups or individual help. So that will take place every Friday. And then it will be a chance for our students to go deeper in their learning, to do some extensions, some practice, some maybe catch up time, but they will be busy on Fridays as well. We know that on the days that our students are not in the school building, just like you, we don't want them sitting in front of a computer every single day, but we do expect that they log in to every class every day, and that's how attendance will be taken. So when they're in the school building, in the site, attendance will be taken like normal, but when they're at home learning, attendance will be taken by them logging into their classes, into each class, and then participating in the activities that are scheduled for that day. So it's not just logging in, it's making sure that they're doing those activities and continuing the learning as well.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
7:30 at least. Okay. Yep, I'll take care of it. You guys will be gone by 7:30.
Principal Heitkamp, you are unmuted. So for health and safety, we know that that is a huge question and concern for our families because you love your babies and we do as well, and we love our staff. And so we are making health and safety a top priority in this school district. Principal Wilhite, would you talk about the expectations for mask wearing while our students are on school property?
Yes, the expectation is that all of our students and staff and any other people that may be coming in to support our students or our staff in our building are wearing masks. And we will be working to make sure that all of our students, no matter what grade, know and understand those expectations and that they know how to properly wear a mask. And that's really just to ensure that we are being aware of the health and safety of all of our students and our staff.
Thank you. Principal Heitkamp, would you please take lunch?
Sure. So lunch is always one of those times where we know middle school kiddos like to get together with others they maybe don't get to see much throughout the course of the day. Procedure, at least at South Junior High, is going to be all students will enter our lunchroom. We'll have one entrance and one exit, so all of our students will have some common flow through the lunchroom. We're going to ask all students that come into the lunchroom to have a seat first, find a spot to sit. We're going to have seats identified within our lunchroom. We're also expanding out into part of our gymnasium so that we can really distance students and have plenty of space. We're going to have 3 lunches at South Junior High. Each one of them will have about 130 students. We have plenty of space, according to our architects, to have that many students present in the lunchroom. We have sanitizer on the walls in the lunch line so that students can clean their hands before grabbing their food. And then one new piece is that typically in the lunchroom, students would have to use a keypad to enter their student ID to pay for their lunch. And this year, there's going to be a couple of different options. Each student's going to be issued a hard ID with their picture possibly, but a barcode for sure, and they can scan that barcode. And we know that sometimes students are going to forget or even possibly lose that. But I think many of us know that if a student does have a cell phone, chances are they don't usually lose that. And so there will also be an opportunity in Skyward to have that barcode where a student can pull it up right on their phone, have their phone under the scanner, and get credit for or pay for their lunch with that method as well. Typically,
Joel, could I interrupt you just a moment? Free and reduced lunch, this was one of the questions. Free and reduced lunch is going to operate as it always has then?
Yes, the student will still scan just as they did when they came through the line prior, just identifying which students are taking a lunch each day, yes.
Fabulous, thank you. Principal Wilhite, how might things look different at Kennedy, and is there anything else you might like to add?
Yes, so for Kennedy, we will actually be eating lunch in our rooms based on the size and setting of our cafeteria. We've decided that that's the safest place for our students. We also know that a la carte and the salad bar are hot items in our buildings, but due to health and safety this school year, we will not be offering either of those options in any of our secondary schools.
Thank you. Lori, would you please talk with our families a little bit about high contact, high exhalation courses?
I'm sorry, I was having trouble getting my mic turned back on. When we talk about high contact courses, we're talking about those courses like Phi Ed, where they have physical things that they're touching, that are shared between students. And then our high exhalation courses are the courses like band and choir, where there could be the potential for students to be singing or playing instruments. As Lori mentioned before, we have spent a lot of time with consultants, health officials. We have talked with the Minnesota Department of Education, CDC, to get guidance around all of these courses. We have established guidelines and cleaning protocols for anything that students share. We've also looked at the materials that things are made out of, because we know that some of our equipment is easier to clean than others. So we have really strict guidelines in place about when materials will be cleaned and how they will be cleaned. And in band and choir, our teachers are actually coming together this week to make sure that we have that common expectation across all programs. We know that we will be doing limited singing in our courses. However, in courses like choir, where that is what music is about, our students will be social distanced. And as we talk to experts, they have said that singing would be allowed and would be acceptable as long as we social distance. With band as well, that will be social distance. Our instruments that require the breathing, like a clarinet and a flute, will have extra precautions taken. And our music teachers have put together, again, a list of protocols, and special equipment has been ordered and some cleaning supplies. So we are confident that we can keep our kids safe and still offer those opportunities.
Thank you. Principal Nutter, would you talk a little bit about our school's hope and expectation about collective responsibility for cleaning?
Absolutely. So some of this will be similar to what Executive Director Posh was just mentioning with the cleaning of the musical instruments and things like that. For our classroom spaces, there is sanitizer being provided for all classroom spaces. So we will be taking part in cleaning routines, and this won't be just staff. Students will probably also participate in the end of class in wiping down their space that they're sitting in. We have taken efforts to remove furniture from classrooms that can't be sanitized. So you can imagine things like soft bean bags or fabric chairs, things like that, that can't easily be disinfected, cleaned, or sanitized. We're moving those out, we're storing those, and we're keeping the hard surface desk and chairs that can be easily wiped down after classes. So our intention is to do that in between classes. As was already mentioned by Dr. Putnam, the building will be deep cleaned every day by our custodial staff after students and staff go home, so that it'll be clean for the next group of students and staff to come in the next morning. Dr. Putnam already mentioned too about the buses being cleaned and sanitized between the elementary drop-offs in the morning and then the secondary pickups, and then it'll be the same in the afternoon. One thing I also wanted to mention, just as an aside to the North families, relating to our lunches, it will be almost identical to what was described by Principal Heitkamp. Our cafeteria will work the same way. We haven't worked out yet whether or not our students will come in and sit down first. That is what we had them do in the past. We just haven't figured out that traffic flow yet. And then the only other difference is we will have 2 exits to our cafeteria. So 1 entrance, 2 exits, and that will just kind of help improve our traffic flow. And then to back things up even farther, the first slide that I talked through was the schedule, and it wasn't quite popped up yet for you. And so what we didn't get to mention during that schedule piece was some of our classes like music and PE operate on a day 1, day 2 basis. And those classes, what we're doing this year is they will go to their day 1 classes for an entire week. So for example, they would see their music teacher if they're a student on Monday and Wednesday. And then the following week, they would see their PE teacher on Monday and Wednesday.
Thank you so much. Adam Holm, would you please talk us through what families can expect for activities at the middle level?
Yeah, we're so excited with the collaboration between our 3 middle schools, all the great things they've been doing. They've formulated an extensive fine arts program that you will participate on the days you're in school. So if you're come to school on A days, you stay after school when the bell rings, hopefully, and you'll participate in an activity on A days, and on B days, you'll participate on B days. When it comes to athletics, they have a soccer program set up on campus with the same structure. If you come to school on an A day, you participate on that day, and if you participate and during school on a B day, you'll go to school, and then you'll go to soccer. Nothing on Fridays. The nice thing is there's also a bus home. So the days you attend school and you go to an activity, there's a bus home. For our students that want to participate in 7-12 activities, those would be tennis, cross country, and swimming. Those are 7-12. You are responsible to get yourself to practice when you do not have school. But if you have school, then there'll be a bus from your school over to practice, but then you need your ride home. So a lot of creative thinking, a lot of opportunities for students. And just like the principals told me, when that bell rings, they hope the buses are empty and that kids are participating, learning in a safe, friendly environment where they can expand and take everything they're learning to the day and participate at night and everything they learn in their activities and bring it into the classroom the next day.
Thank you very much. Back to school events. I know device pickup is happening very soon. Principal Nutter, would you take this one and talk about what families can expect with device pickup?
Sorry, had to find the unmute button there. Yeah, so for device pickup, I think South is pretty similar, and I'm not familiar with Kennedy's plans, so Principal Wilhite will have to share what her device deployment plan is. At North, our times, I believe, mirror South, though I think we might have an additional hour schedule on one day. So starting tomorrow, Tuesday, August 25th, North families will be able to pick up a new Chromebook for their students at North Junior High. You can pull up in the bus chute, which will be on the north side of our building, door 7. We ask that our families not exit the vehicle. A staff member will meet you at the vehicle. It will be helpful if you have a sign, a large sign, notebook paper or something like that with large printing with your student's first name, last name, and ID number clearly printed. Our staff can quick snap a picture of that and then run inside. They'll grab a Chromebook for you and also some additional printed information for families about upcoming events, scheduling conferences for welcome back conferences with our advisors, things like that. And then there's also a picture form for the upcoming picture day. So again, tomorrow we have scheduled device deployment from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. at North. And then also again on Wednesday from noon to 7 p.m.
Thank you. Principal Wilhite, anything different that you'd like your Kennedy families to know?
Ours is very similar. We will just be in our front loop. And I believe our times are almost the same as North. Ours is tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. and then Wednesday from noon until 6 p.m. And that's also for our Distance Learning Academy students as well.
Thank you for adding that. The Distance Learning Academy students should pick up their device at their home school. So if you have a high schooler and you happen to be listening as well, please be sure to attend at either McKinley Tech or Apollo. Principal Heitkamp, what about those leftover belongings that might have been in those lockers? What should families expect about those?
Well, we have been safely storing all items that were left behind in the spring. All of the items have been stored within our buildings in a safe location, as I had said. And if you do happen to have anything that was left behind that you would like back, if you do believe there was items left in your locker, please just take note of that as you come through during the device handout. Let us know that you believe you have items. Each one of our buildings should have each bag labeled either with a student name or a locker that it came out of. And our staff would love to come in and grab it for you so that you can take those items home. And that we can free up some of our spaces here at school as well.
Thank you.
Lori, if I may interject for a moment here. First of all, a lot of questions about Distance Learning Academy. That slide is coming up, so if we could just hold on those questions a moment, and then we'll circle back. But some specific questions to the hybrid model. One question is, what if your child has a dentist appointment on a distance learning day? How does that work? Do they log in and log back out? How does that work in that particular situation? We'll take that one first.
Thank you. That's a great question. That will be up to our families. Our expectation is that students are logged in at the beginning of each class period that's scheduled for the day. So there are 3 class periods plus advisory at middle, and our students would need to be logged in within the first 10 minutes to be counted present. Otherwise, they'll be marked tardy, and if they're not logged in by the end of the hour, then they'll be marked absent. So if a student is unable to make that timeline, that time frame, then a family would sure want to call in and let that the Distance Learning Academy contact know, or the school contact know, the brick and mortar school contact know, the attendance line, that their child will be unable to be present in class. And then of course with the doctor's appointment like that, it would be excused, and then your child would be able to make up the content. For most of the classes when students are learning at home, the expectation will be that they log in, they get their assignment, and then the teacher will give the direction from there. So all of our learning and teaching, as Executive Director Posh said, is in Schoology, and our students will have access to the lecture, to the assignments, to the reading material there. However, some teachers may say, hey, students in person, students at home, I need you all to stay with me today. We are going to do this. I'm going to be providing new information to you, and I want you all to stay logged in synchronously or in live time. And that would be, in that instance, then you sure would want to have called in your child absent ahead of time, so that then you wouldn't have to worry about, uh-oh, now I have to leave in 10 minutes, what do I do? And of course that information would be recorded and you'd have access to it later. But just for, as a parent myself, for ease of mind, I would think I would call in ahead of time. But again, it would be up to the family's discretion.
And so for clarification, this is a follow-up question. Is there a specific number of hours the child must be online during that given day?
No, there is not. For those of us who have been working from home, we know that being online in a Zoom call or a Google Meet for 7 hours a day is just mind-numbing. It's bad for adults, it's bad for kids, and we know that those are not instructional best practices, and we would not ask it of our students, we would not ask it of our staff. We have, the Learning and Teaching Department has created professional development for all of our teachers about what good learning looks like and what good teaching looks like when students are not sitting right in front of you. And so the expectation is not that our student is logged in for 7 hours a day, whether in the brick and mortar hybrid Distance Learning 2.0 model, or whether they're enrolled in the Distance Learning Academy. Students can expect to log in, have contact with teacher and classmates, and get further direction. Some days, like I said, it might mean that you stay on and learn with your classmates and your teacher synchronously, and some days it might be that you are able to do the assignment on your own, or that you're asked to collaborate with with fellow students.
Thank you. And how about transportation in this hybrid model when we know that the buses are 50% capacity and we're AB? What will our route look like, and how do we know?
You will know because transportation is providing information. I believe it's August. They're mailing August 28th. So you will get your bus pickup location and times, as well as arrival back home location and times. And you are absolutely right that our buses are at half capacity, and our students are expected to wear masks. And for those of you who have been on buses lately, school buses lately, you will know that they are not airtight to the best of all of our efforts. And so that actually is working in all of our favors at this point, as the natural gaps or those windows when you had to hold the latches in and push it all the way up, and how hard that is. That there's some natural ventilation that occurs on school buses.
And then this is a quick one for Principal Heitkamp. You brought it up, so you get to answer it. Do the children, the students use lockers this year?
That's a great question. At South Junior High and I believe at North Junior High as well, we have almost 1,200 lockers or 1,100 lockers in our building. But to ensure the safety of everyone, we're only going to use about one locker every 6 lockers. And so for this year, new to our middle school kids, and I'm sure many of them will be very excited, we are going to allow the carrying of backpacks and coats to and from classes. We're not going to assign students lockers unless a family or a student requests one. And so you can send those requests to us here at school, and we will ensure that they get a locker. What I will tell you is that lockers will not be assigned based on advisor or based on where a friend is at. It will all be based on lockers that are available, again, safely distanced from other students.
And how about Kennedy? Anything to add on lockers?
We are also the same. We are going to be encouraging our students to use their backpacks to carry their materials and supplies and belongings. And that if they do need a locker, we will happily find them one. Thank
you. And I know that we had some questions about hybrid learning. So before I move on to 6th grade orientation and the first day of school, Kelly, Director Frankenfield, would you mind talking to us a little bit about what our students who receive EL services might expect during their in-person or at-home days?
Our students work together. Our teachers collaborate together, both at home and in the distance learning. We are providing EL teachers in our distance learning academy to collaborate at all levels K-12, and communication with our students and families will be a priority. Making sure that our multilingual learners have additional support at beginning levels of language, and then that collaborative support between content and EL teachers at the higher levels of proficiency.
Thank you. We have quite a few welcome back events scheduled. Principal Wilhite, would you talk about what this looks like at Kennedy, and then Principal Nutter, would you take what it looks like at North, and Principal Hiccup, if you want to add at the end?
So we are a little different because we have elementary and middle school, but we will be doing a virtual open house of sorts that we will be sharing as soon as it's available. Otherwise, we will be doing virtual goal setting conferences with our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students, which is part of why we're doing device distribution tomorrow and Wednesday. And then we will, during those conference times, students will get to meet with their advisor, who they'll be with all year, and that will be kind of their point person. That way, if we have to flow in and out of hybrid or distance learning or in person, whatever it may be, that they have those connections happening. But the evening of September 2nd will be our goal setting conferences, and then all day on September 8th will be our goal setting conferences. So we will not have middle school students in our building on the 8th. Our hybrid model will begin on Wednesday the 9th.
At both North and South, we will be doing similar welcome back virtual family conferences. These are conferences that families will be able to sign up for in the Skyward Family Portal as soon as your student is assigned an advisor. What I will tell you is we're working hard to make sure that we have our students scheduled in an advisory by the end of this week. I will send out further communication if we don't make that target, but you'll hear from me one way or another, because if we do, I'll encourage you to go into the Skyward portal, find out who your child's advisor is, and then sign up for one of those 20-minute Welcome Back family conferences. And we will also be doing those family conferences the week of August 31st. And we have, correct me if I'm wrong, Joel, we have the evening of the 2nd, the afternoon of the 3rd, and then we also have some time on, I believe it's Tuesday the 8th, for families that weren't able to get a conference either of the other days.
That is correct. And then the other piece that I'll add is both North and South have a fantastic group of 8th grade leaders called our Web Crew. Web stands for Where Everyone Belongs, and it's a program that we've had in our schools for quite a long time. In a normal year, most of the morning on the first day of school, which is 6th grade only, is spent with those web leaders and various orientation activities. And we're going to continue that tradition at both North and South, although it will look different. Both of those orientations will take place virtually. You will get an email or some notification from your student's advisor at South Junior High of the link to access. And in that virtual orientation, which will take place in the afternoon of September the 8th, they will have an opportunity, 6th grade students will have an opportunity to meet their advisor. That person will be there in the virtual room with them. And then their 8th grade web leaders will take them through the orientation program that they're all getting ready for right now.
Thank you. And Distance Learning Academy, we know there have been lots of questions coming in about that. I'm going to give that a start, and then I'll turn it over to Lori. For Distance Learning Academy, our daily schedule will look just like the brick and mortar schedule. So you can expect that advisory will happen. You can expect 3 periods a day. Many of our students, particularly at the high school level, though some at the middle, will be actually crossing over and learning simultaneously with their brick and mortar peers as they're live streaming our classes. So that's why that schedule is so important about alignment. We will be taking attendance just like in our brick and mortar schools. Students need to log in that first 10 minutes and receive information from their instructor, whether it's their Distance Learning Academy, DLA, their DLA teacher, or the teacher from their home school or the counterpart school across town. As we said, device pickup should happen from your assigned home school. They have your device and are ready and waiting to give that to you. Students, as Adam Holmes said, students are more than welcome to participate in activities. We welcome them. We do not have transportation, but we welcome them on their assigned day. So our Distance Learning Academy students would be assigned to activities when they register on an A day or a B day. They would not be attending activities 4 days a week unless that's how their 712 sport was already practicing. They are doing conferences, just like you heard from our middle schools that are meeting brick and mortar. They will be virtual conferences with the advisory teacher, and those will also be scheduled through Schoology. If you have not yet had a chance, please check out Superintendent Jett's Skyler to you. In it today, there was a lengthy communication about Distance Learning Academy. It covers things like transportation and conferences and meals. We will be providing meals to our DLA students. Those will be at locations yet to be determined. They will be pickup for any families that are wishing to receive breakfast and lunch. And Lori, would you please talk a little bit about what instruction might look like and how it might or might not be different?
Yes, I know that you may or may not know that offering a distance learning option for families is something that the governor established, but we don't feel like it was something that we had to do. We're really excited to be able to offer this for our students. We have identified an administrator for our Distance Learning Academy, and that is Heather Ebnett. And just like our principals at our brick and mortar schools and counselors are working on the schedules, that same thing is happening in our Distance Learning Academy now that we know which students will be joining us. As Dr. Putnam mentioned, our students will be following the same schedule. We will be doing some additional training with our teachers who are teaching the Distance Learning Academy to help them be sure that they're engaging students, that it's not just, as we mentioned before, sitting in front of a computer, but that it's really activity-based and that our students will be actively involved, whether the teacher is synchronous or live with them, or whether they have activities that they're doing on their own or in small groups. So again, they'll follow their same schedule that they would follow if they were in North, South, or Kennedy. And their teachers that are assigned to them for Distance Learning Academy will let them know if they need to be on longer in a class one day, or if that class can be shorter. And they may have them log in and out at different times during the class as they send them off to do some work. But again, as I mentioned before, learning can take place anywhere, and our expectations for our students in Distance Learning Academy are just as high as they are for those who are in our hybrid model.
So Lori, a couple of questions along those lines. High expectations. Will there be advanced classes offered for Distance Learning Academy?
And I'll let the principals add to this if they want. What we've done is we've looked at all of the students that have registered, and right now principals at all of the sites are going through. And as Dr. Putnam mentioned, there may be some opportunities where students log in with the class that's in the building. So we are not saying no to any of our offerings, but we, just like any other time, we'll look to see if we have enough students registered between the on-site and the Distance Learning Academy to be able to offer courses. So they are not ruled out for our Distance Learning Academy or our on-site. And I don't know if principals want to add anything to that.
I might jump in. The only thing I would add is that our students in advanced language arts will be joining one of our brick and mortar schools for that instruction. So you will not miss out on that. And then we'll be offering Phi Ed and music on an every other day basis, just like in your brick and mortar school. And then a variety of project-based allied courses such as art, technical education or CTE, gear up, get ready, the sorts of things that your child would have access to if you were enrolled at North, South, or Kennedy.
Another question about scheduling. Does AB have any correlation in Distance Learning Academy at all?
It does not. They will be attending their Distance Learning Academy all 4 days. It will make a difference which classes they're in each day. So the 1, 2, 3 or the 4, 5, 6. But other than that, it does not.
Another question that pertains to both hybrid learning model and Distance Learning Academy, and then I've got a follow-up from that. Is it too late to sign up for Distance Learning Academy?
That's a great question. And yes, it is too late at this point. We took registrations. We closed, I believe it was mid-August, and then knowing that we still were releasing our plans and the school board approved plans on the 19th. We were responsive to any changes families requested, whether it was to transition back into the brick and mortar from DLA or to the Distance Learning Academy. We did need to close that as of midnight Sunday because now our schools and our principals and our school counselors have the extremely daunting task of reworking their master schedules. We spent the day restaffing so that we made sure our students' academic needs were met, elementary through senior high. Now, once we redo our staffing, rebuild our master schedules, our school counselors need to do student schedules, and that's in the brick and mortar and the Distance Learning Academy. So while we would love to be flexible, we are officially closed. Our families are always welcome, however, to complete an in-district transfer request. That is a process that was established by our school board last year, and that's the process that's used if a family, say, wanted to transition between Kennedy and South in the middle of the school year. There's a board policy about that, and there's a form that's completed. It's managed through the Welcome Center, and then it's sent, elementary is sent to Dr. Beisch, who I neglected to acknowledge is on the call, and we're very grateful that Assistant Superintendent Beisch is with us. She is responsible for PK through 5 education, and I'm responsible for the secondary, so those requests for your families at middle and high school would come to me. I would then take a look at the rationale for why the request was being made to transition to or from Distance Learning Academy, partner with the school principal to ensure that we had space in the class. And if we did, then I would certainly consider that request. But at this point, we are it's no longer an open enrollment. There is the in-district transfer process that we're following.
Thank you. And I think this was touched on a little bit, but could you talk more about what electives and gym in particular was a class that was called out? How does that look with the Distance Learning Academy? Could you flesh that out a little bit more?
Yep. For our Distance Learning Academy and for those days that our students are at home, our teachers are just amazing, as you probably saw last spring, at being able to, I'm going to speak specifically about FIAD, about being able to offer opportunities and suggestions to keep our students engaged and active. So there are standards in all of our elective courses, and in FIAD, not all of those are actual movement types of standards. So our teachers will still be covering all of the basics that they need to cover. Plus, as I said, giving students opportunities for some of those lifelong skills that they need. So even if they're in Distance Learning Academy, our teachers are busy planning activities that our students can participate in and suggestions for things that they can do at home. That's some of that additional training I talked about too that our Distance Learning Academy teachers will have.
And I also get to be timekeeper, and we're almost out of time. If anyone wants to, oh, I'm sorry, I have one more kind of high level question about bridging learning models. How does a transition happen? We are entering in the fall in a hybrid. How do families know how quickly we might have to transition to something else? And again, we have 4 minutes.
I will be as quick as I can with a very, hopefully not as a complicated answer. It's very simple if we are transitioning from a less restrictive to a more restrictive model. So every Friday we receive data from the Minnesota Department of Education and Minnesota Department of Health that looks at the number of COVID cases per, they have a complicated formula about the number of people, the number of cases divided over 14 days, and then they produce this number that's between 0 and I believe 50 or 40. Based on that number, the governor has assigned the type of learning model that is safe for our communities. So each Friday, beginning that 8, 9, 10, 11, Friday the 11th, and of course we're still monitoring data now, but Friday the 11th, we will take a look at that data. And then if the data shows a rise in cases, that would put us into a more restrictive model. So if our cases, and I believe this is accurate, if our cases rose into between the 20 and 29 range, that would mean that our secondary and our elementary family students would all need to be in hybrid. If it peaked over 29, then we would need to move our secondary into distance learning. So that's what I mean by a more restrictive model. We would make that transition very rapidly because that means that community transmission of COVID is on the rise. And we, as I said, are prioritizing the health and safety of all of our students and families and staff. So we would learn that on a Friday. We would let you know immediately. And we would transition to the more restrictive model on Monday. When transitioning back from, say, if we were into distance learning or in hybrid, and then transitioning, case rates were consistently dropping, so they were 0 to 9. We would see that on, say, week 1, say it was the 11th, knowing that the transmission rates do change week to week, and that switch in between distance and hybrid or hybrid and in person is actually a fairly monumental ask of our students, our families, and our staff. We would then monitor the next week. If case rates were stabilizing or continuing to decrease, we would look at the 3rd week, and we would then make the decision to pull into a less restrictive model. Each Friday, beginning with the start of school, Superintendent Jett will be communicating with families on Friday, and we'll be providing that data along with any other essential communication. So families will be absolutely in the know each week about what the case rates are in of the 4 counties that impact our district, and they can start to watch those trends themselves. And we would, of course, be forecasting and explaining that data continually through those communications. Tammy, you're on mute.
I just said thank you for that. I think now we have to transition to our next high school town hall meeting.
Absolutely. Thank you, families, for joining us. We are very grateful for your time. You're welcome to join us on the high school virtual family town hall. And thank you to all of our wonderful administrators for your work and for your time this evening.